back to another edition of Zero Blog 30. Today we have 3 rounds in the magazine. I wrote them down. Oh, there we are. Presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy. He went viral this week.
Sure did.
It was because of his fiscal policy and national defense leanings.
Are you sure it wasn't a little dead bear cub goofing?
Yeah, he was dead bear goofing.
Yeah.
In Central Park, nonetheless. Round number 2, an Air Force veteran is being a big old pussy about the Blue Angels.
Well, that means he's being tough and flexible?
No.
Uh-oh.
I was using it as an old school term, not a body part.
Oh, pardon me. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, otherwise I'd have said vulva.
Okay, thank you.
Which is, in case we forget, that's the entire pussy.
The whole pussy.
Yeah. Round number 3, there's a prisoner exchange in Russia once again, and Paul Whelan out.
He's out.
Yeah. We've been talking about that for a long time. 2018 is when he went into custody. 2024, for those keeping score at home. 2018 does not seem like 6 years ago.
Sure doesn't.
That feels like 2 lifetimes ago.
Yeah, like last year.
Also, when I started working here.
It's both. It feels like
Just
both.
Crazy.
Everything from 2020 to 2022-ish and a half, that's the same year for me.
Yeah.
One big blur.
Yeah, that's the same.
Wait, Kate, you didn't come till 2018?
Yeah. I didn't get to Barstool till 2018.
Wow.
Yeah, because we had only been doing it like 2 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
She's been in 3/4 of it. No.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, we're going to be talking about that stuff today, and I'm excited. It's a big day because, I mean, that bear story, going through and like preparing for it. I also went back to 2014 and some of the tweets. Did you see that?
No.
Okay, so there's.
I guess we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it, but it's awesome.
Magical story and a little sad.
But we're recording on Tuesday morning, and as you probably know, if you're listening on Wednesday, Vice President Harris has made her pick for vice president. And either way, we were talking in the group chat earlier, this will be the first time that I know of that an enlisted person will have as high a rank in the government as ever. Because either way, JD Vance was enlisted. He was a Marine corporal. And then Tim Walz is a former command sergeant major, which is cool.
This means we're probably going to have a smoke pit at the White House now, and I'm excited about that. Whichever way it goes, there's going to be a little circle of sandbags and an old can of dip somewhere outside.
It's going to be great. And he seems like that kind of guy. Going through, it's weird. I just read a tweet by Axios who said he is the first person on a president or vice presidential pick since 1980 that has been, or since 1976, that has not been an attorney.
Oh,
wow. That's interesting.
Everybody else has gone to law school except for him. He's the first one to not go to a law school.
Wait.
Interesting.
Wait, time out really quickly. For vice president, you said? Or just in general?
Vice president or president that didn't go to law school.
Bush went to law school?
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Columbia.
Both Bush?
I think Columbia.
George W. Bush went to law school.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah. Unless Axios is wrong in that tweet. Could be a law guy.
I'll be damned. I guess I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
I guess
I don't
that explains all the
No. Okay.
sleaziness.
What is it?
He's got an MBA. George W. Bush has
Oh,
an
maybe
MBA.
grad school? I don't know. I saw some tweet like that.
Grad school would check out.
Or maybe it was vice president, the first vice presidential pick since
nevertheless
the Kennedy. Either way, it's a cool story. And not only that, there's no Ivy Leaguers on the ticket. I don't think that's happened in a long time either.
Start of the enlisted takeover?
I hope so.
You better watch your ass, Pons. You better watch your ass, pal.
The Lance Corporal and Specialist Underground had this news about the VP pick like a week and a half ago.
Yeah.
There was a ton of scuttlebutt going on around what was going to happen. But I wanted to go through because we went through JD Vance's whenever he was announced that he was a Lance Corporal and Corporal. This dude's resume does not read like a VP at all. But maybe it should, because to start at the beginning, he enlisted for the National Guard when he was 17 years old and ended up staying for 22 years or 24 years as a command sergeant major, like going all the way through the old rank structure. So that's pretty cool. He was also a high school teacher and a football coach. And he was in the U.S. House of Representatives, where he was the House Veteran Affairs ranking member. Which, if you don't follow politics a lot, the ranking member is like, let's say the Republicans are in charge of the House, like they are right now. The leader of what is it called? chair. The
Mhm.
chair is going to be a Republican. The highest ranking person of the other party is going to be the ranking member. So he was like the Democrats when they weren't in charge of the House. He was the ranking member of the VA affairs. And I think his biggest accomplishment that people would say, everybody in Minnesota, all kids get free school lunch and breakfast.
Yeah.
I think that's incredible. Like and I know that there's a lot of argument from people that are like, oh, people, if you're going to have kids, you should pay for it. That's not the way public school works. And I don't know why it took this long. You don't profit share. You don't share the cost of your book, your desk, all those different things that are individual. And if kids can eat, I don't understand how anybody has an issue with that.
No. And two, you ever have to deal with hangry kids?
Right.
They're not focused. So if you want the rest of your taxpayer money to go to work, and you want them to learn, you want them to have a full belly.
And there's all kinds of research that shows that if they are not hungry, that they've done better. Their school scores have gone up a ton.
You know what I used to do?
That's very commonly known. If you're on a full stomach, I remember before I would take we'd have the standardized test days. I always made sure I ate a different breakfast that day.
Yeah, there's always a note home. Make sure they eat a good breakfast. Shouldn't that be like a norm? I mean, good breakfast is different for parents. I don't care what McCartney eats because they aren't sitting around and eating eggs and potatoes before school. You guys know the Little Bites? Have you?
Yeah.
The Little Bite muffins?
Yep.
We buy those things by 4 boxes from Costco because Cardi will get up, go downstairs, grab 3 of those bags, and be ready to go.
And that's it. That's all they need.
That's it. I would much rather them have something at school just because you can kick them out the door. Like getting rid of elementary school kids on time is fucking tough, man. Get out. Just get out. But I think it's a pretty interesting career. It's an interesting matchup. He did a deployment. I wrote this down because it says what I consider a deployment and what a lot of other people consider deployments, other branches of service is a little bit different. It said that he like the first article, he deployed in support of Operation OEF. And then I looked into it, Italy.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, if you could get it, man. I would have hated on that and been like, you need to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, somewhere. Italy is good if you could get it.
Not too shabby.
Not too shabby at all. Cons, as an officer, how are you feeling about 2 enlisted guys at the top of the tickets?
So what I was thinking about,
penultimate of the tickets,
regardless of the fact that they're enlisted, the fact that we have a veteran either way, I think the VA has been trending in the right direction in the last handful of years, maybe the last 5-10 years. My hope is that whomever is in office, they both throw their weight behind veterans issues and improving the VA further because they have a vested interest.
Bigger guys. They can throw their weight right behind these issues very strongly.
Yeah.
Solid bases.
But maybe the VA gets more attention than it has in the last 5 decades because there's finally somebody in office who has a vested interest. And that's the way I look at it. So hopefully that works out well for our community.
Yeah, with the PACT Act getting passed last time, I think if you can continue on like some of the other legislation that we've talked about, hopefully a better chance of getting like the Major Richard Starr Act going, that would be great. But anyway, that's all on Walz. I like that pick. Having a sergeant major in there. I hope that whenever somebody comes in their office, if they fucked up, he puts them at parade rest.
Yeah, I would like
that would be amazing.
A salty old divorced gunny as a VP pick. Really shittily rolled office sleeves.
Yeah.
Cigarette dangling out of the mouth. Red Bull on the desk.
He goes up to one of those CNN reporters and he's like, "Hey there, wild one."
Yeah.
I heard what the fuck you said there, devil.
He's got a Skinners off your phone there. I'm talking to you right now.
Yeah, I know.
He's got a refrigerator full of Rippets.
Yeah.
All those like people that are trying to get social media clip as the president and vice president go for Air Force or for Marine One.
Yeah.
They're like, "Get the fuck off the grass there, you." But I know we don't walk and talk on our cell phone.
They found out he's been living on Marine One because his wife won't let him back at the house. Yeah.
I think Haley Britz, who's a military reporter, and she made mention that the
CNN. I think I'm talking about her, Cons.
Yeah. No. She said the White House grass has never been safer.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Anyways, let's move on to round number 1, which this is fun. I think it's going to be rare over the next couple months that have anything that do with the president or the presidential election that's going to be fun. That's why RFK needs to stay in the race, because there's all these little rabbit holes that come down from him. And this was perfect. And I think the best part is that it came with an interview with none other than Roseanne Barr.
Yeah.
That was the weirdest part.
She's a wacky little lady now.
Yeah.
She has really spiraled off the deep end.
Yeah.
It's been fun to watch, to be honest. She's an interesting lady.
She's like your great aunt on Facebook who's absolutely gone off the deep end with share posts.
Yeah.
Just completely spun off this planet.
Roseanne Barr has 1,000% posted and copy pasted that thing. Facebook is about to steal your pictures. If you don't want your dad to share this post, copy and paste it onto your wall. 1,000% she's done that.
But still gives great hugs and makes a really good quiche.
I wouldn't want to.
All right, really quickly, what do you think Roseanne Barr's net worth is? And this is just a quick Google, so I mean it's probably give or take. But
she was the producer, and I think she was the director on the Roseanne Barr show, and the producers, and she was also a writer. I'm gonna go high. I'm gonna say 20 mil.
And that show, I never get sick of watching it. It's how some people watch The Office in perpetuity.
Yeah.
I think I could watch Roseanne forever and ever and ever. It is like a great fucking show.
Yeah.
I never watched it.
Oh, man. It is really, it's written like so crazy well. I think it's one of the best TV shows, like American TV shows about like family life or whatever ever made. I would put it above Family Matters. There, I said it.
Wow.
There, I said it.
And when old, what was her name? Aunt Jackie got beat up by her husband.
Dan almost flew off the handle and killed the husband.
I love John Goodman.
He just walks grabs his flannel jacket, and he's like, I'm on my way.
You knew shit was about to go down.
That guy was about to catch a beating. Because John Goodman looks like one of those old school Midwest, used to play right tackle in high school and will just beat the fuck out of you at no matter what age he is.
Yep. That's hot.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Hot. And he was a good president, or like for a little while in West Wing. He rose up. He took over the office.
I forgot about that.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
Anyway,
the Google machine.
Dan Goodman's size.
The Google machine says her net worth is 80 million.
Holy shit!
Million. Wow.
Yeah, but that makes sense because of what you said, Chop. She had a massive sitcom when sitcoms were king. So the fact that she had, credits as a writer, producer, director, actor. It makes sense.
Syndicated forever. It's still on TV. Like the syndication is where
that's where you get the money. Yeah,
exactly. Like Steinfeld said, he makes $10 million a year still from syndication.
You have nothing to lose. Like, you're gonna be crazy, man. Who gives a shit?
Yeah, I'd be crazy as hell if I was $80 million. I'm looking at nothing but weird shit online all day.
Spiral King.
Yeah,
you're fine.
I think that's interesting though. When you have that kind of money, I think people's inhibitions start to go by the wayside, and you just like, I don't care. I'm going to say what I think because you're not trying to protect yourself in any way. Because what for? You got more money than you'll ever need.
Yeah. Okay. Before we go into round one completely, need to make an announcement. We're supposed to have the Charles Manson CIA pod that came out today. It's going to be next week. Our guy, White Sox Dave, who's going to be on that show, he had to go out to Oakland because they're going to have a big celebration for loss number 21 in a row for the White Sox, and he went out to Oakland to have maybe the two worst teams in MLB history to watch them play together at the shittiest stadium in the MLB, which is the Oakland Athletics Stadium, which I don't think will be that way next year. I think next year is the year that they go to Vegas.
Really?
Yeah, moving to Vegas too, which Oakland getting their ass kicks by Las Vegas. They lost the Raiders and now the Athletics.
I know. I think that stinks because that stadium was awesome. When we went, you could smoke a cig up at the top. Nobody cared.
Awesome. Yeah.
It ruled. That place fucking ruled. It was like a giant cement.
That place stunk out loud. Yeah.
Oh, get out of here.
I mean, the ice cream in the little baseball helmet turned upside down. Never turned that down.
It was great.
Yeah.
You could party there. No. Okay, let's get into it. Going back to the year 2014, this is when this particular article was written. 2014.
And the Macarena.
The Macarena was huge at the time. Furbies were about Tamagotchis. Police are trying to establish. Remember those?
Oh, yeah. My Tamagotchi died all the time. I eventually threw it into a pond.
Well, biggest fight me and my girlfriends ever got into back in the day was one of us threw the other's Tamagotchi into Mrs. Ross's pool.
Damn.
And didn't go over well.
All right.
Anyway, police are trying to establish how a dead black bear cub came to be found in New York City's Central Park home to a zoo that don't got no bears.
And I want to remind everybody, you're on one today, Kate.
Yeah, you are in a mood.
You are on one.
I'm either having a manic episode, I'm at the real start of it, or I've been reading about how being silly can help you in your life. And I've been getting more and more serious and like overthinking about it. And I'm just going to
just be a silly goose.
I've been paying too much attention to comments and stuff again, which every now and then I do. And I start to like pull myself in more and more and more and like, don't do anything weird. Don't do anything people are going to like. I'm a silly lady.
And that's why people like you, because you're silly.
And people are like, oh, real quirky, real silly. Well, I am silly, bitch.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be silly.
People don't want you to be Elizabeth Warren.
Yeah.
No. And I want to remind everybody,
1/10 Cherokee.
When this original, the 2014 article was written, they had no idea who did it.
Right.
They definitely didn't know it was a Kennedy.
That's for goddamn sure. So here we are back in 2014. The remains of this bear cub are found under a bush by two women walking their dogs. The bear cub showed signs of trauma, leading to suspicions that it was the victim of animal cruelty. Florence Slatkin, who lives near the park, said that she and her friend were leaving the park when her friend's terrier spotted something near a bicycle lying on the ground. At first, we thought it was a bag of clothes, maybe a dead dog, she told the AP. But then when they got closer, they realized it was a very small bear with its mouth wide open and scratches on its side. The cub's head was on top of the back bicycle wheel. It was terrible, and it was the strangest thing, she said. Why was the bike there? Police dusted the bicycle for prints while the corpse was being sent to Albany, where the State Department of Environmental Conservation was due to perform a post-mortem.
Also, I think that's weird.
Why?
Dusting it for prints. Oh,
the bike for prints?
Yeah, I think that's a weird move.
Hey there's chaps.
Yeah.
I don't, because it was so clearly put there by someone, and animal cruelty cases like have to be taken seriously.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's that crazy, because that was so obviously like the bear cub didn't walk over the George Washington Bridge, get to Central Park, and get hit by a bicycle. Like somebody did it. So they had to look into that shit.
Yeah, so if Kate's making great points.
I am.
But I'm really struggling. I got this new camera. Did it get me? Nope. So I got this new camera that has facial tracking. So if you want to see on YouTube, you can. But it's not tracking me right now.
No.
And in fact, I thought we were tracked. It's centered, so we're.
It was tracking last week, but we can see you, so that's a plus.
Okay, keep going, Kate.
I can't read the words.
You can't. Yeah.
Can't.
Okay.
Okay. Anyways, they go to do an autopsy on this bear. They're taking prints of the bike. Bears are not among the park's known wildlife population. There are no bears at the Central Park Zoo. So bears were also not reported missing from any other nearby zoos at the time. That's okay. Let's see.
There it is.
Here we go.
Yeah.
Bears were not reported missing from any other nearby zoos in any other cities. And one of the highest black bear densities in the U.S. is in New Jersey, where the current number of bears is about 2,500. Now, every now and then, New York City will get, they genuinely do, especially from the Bronx up in Riverdale over the bridge. They get like coyotes and shit like that.
Yeah.
They really will. There will be deer in Manhattan. There will be coyotes. There's like all kinds of crazy shit. But the odds of a, especially by itself, black bear cub, like zero. That ain't making it, especially with traffic going by.
So let's say my camera's still fucked.
Yeah.
Let's say you stumble across a black bear. Okay, what's your response?
A dead one?
Yeah.
So
or alive. Let's do both.
I would think New York City has a history, you can Google it, of people keeping exotic pets that they should not have.
Yeah,
in like 250 square feet apartment. We covered on ZBT once the story of the like SWAT and the FBI and stuff had to come take a giant tiger. Remember that?
Yes.
A rabid tiger
yes, I do.
out of someone's 1-bedroom apartment up in Harlem or something like
Yeah.
that. Every now and then, giant snakes and alligators get dumped in the sewer. Like, people are notorious. They want to show off. They want to whatever. Come back to my place, see this bear cub I have in my. So like, my first thought would be some absolute fucking prick had a bear in his apartment and it was starting to get bigger and he couldn't handle it anymore, so he killed it and dumped it in the park. That's what I would think. Right
Yeah,
away.
Same kind of thing happened, and it did happen here in Chicago by Humboldt Park.
The gator, yeah.
Yeah, Chance the Snapper.
Chance the Snapper. Somebody put an actual alligator in the lagoon. That's a swimming lagoon too. It's the only inland beach in all of Chicago.
Well, it wasn't at the time. It was like for 15 years that you couldn't because it was too dirty. It's back.
It's back. It's so back.
Who's back of the week?
But
Humboldt Park
somebody
swimming.
put a gator in there. Yeah, they had a whole to do about it.
Mm-hmm.
But
so you fast forward this, and I also want to point out that there was a bunch of tweets, or not a bunch, but there was a dude who in 2014, and it was the same day, he had tweeted out, just came across a dead bear in Central Park. What's that all about?
And as soon as it came out this week, he retweeted. He's like, well, figured it out. Yeah. But it was a real whodunit at the time. And it was one of those like New York City gossip things where everyone was like, how did it get there? Blah, blah. It was like big local gossip. How the fuck did this get there? Finally, however many years later, we have an answer.
10.
And my God, a decade later, it was independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. And it was revealed in a social media video on Sunday with Roseanne Barr. That he was the one that did it. It's casual. He's sitting in his kitchen and she's kind of standing there. It's like they're having a nice like morning conversation. And he just tells this story that he drove a dead bear cub carcass from upstate New York and placed it in New York City's Central Park 10 years ago. He said that he was telling this story in an effort to combat a forthcoming New Yorker article that he predicted will be a bad story. So somehow
getting out of front of the bear biz.
Somehow the New Yorker, he must have told enough people about this back in the day. And now that he's back in the news again, people are starting to talk like, by the way, like maybe someone who's friends with the reporters, like, you want a hot tip on RFK? 10 years ago, he was the bear cub guy. So he was alerted that like this story's coming out. So his way of getting ahead of it was telling it casually to Roseanne Barr in his kitchen. Like it was like a goofy anecdote.
And I could see this happening for an enlisted person too.
Oh, yes.
Without a doubt. Like then you're going to have a safety brief about having bears in Central Park. Can't do it.
Well, let's get back to how the hell this happened. In the video, which he posted to his own Twitter account, Kennedy tells Roseanne Barr about traveling through New York's Hudson Valley to go hawking, as one does, and coming across a young bear.
Is hawking looking for hawks?
That's a great question.
Or is it
It can't be hunting because I feel like you can't hunt hawks.
Yeah, and it can't be
but
falconry.
It's hawking hunting with a hawk on your arm and sending it out.
Oh, maybe for like little rodents or something.
And that hawking definitely sounds like rich people shit. Like the Kennedys would go
1000%.
hawking in the Hudson Valley with whatever.
And he's a weird snake guy too. So I mean, he loves snakes. Like I saw a video of him. Still bizarre that he's married to the woman from Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Cheryl Hines. Yes.
Yeah, it's so bizarre.
So odd. Yes.
Like this whole thing with RFK should be an episode of Curb.
Oh, the whole thing is insane. Yeah, it's absolutely wild.
So there's a video of him. His wife comes outside when he's in the garage, and she's like, "Honey, I think there's a rattlesnake over in the corner." And he's like, "That little rattlesnake is over here in the corner." And he goes and grabs like a 5-gallon bucket, gets the rattlesnake, puts it in there, and then they show him going somewhere else to put it away. Maybe the first president candidate since Teddy to be a snake guy.
And I'll say it once again, kind of hot. Not being a snake guy, but wrangling one.
No, especially if your spouse comes out and asks you to.
Something kind of hot about it. There was a TikTok the other day where this lady had a rattlesnake in her yard, and her hillbilly neighbor was like, "Don't worry, honey, I got it." Another woman came over, just stepped right on its rattler, grabbed it by the neck, and I was turned on by that too. I was like, whose team am I on anymore? I don't know.
She came out. There's a snake in my boot.
Back to this bear. He's hawking around the Hudson Valley, as rich people do, whatever the hell that means. He comes across a young bear that had been hit and killed by another driver. He says in the video, here's where the decision-making process is a little questionable. He decided to put the dead bear in his car. I pulled over and I picked up the bear and put him in the back of my van because I was going to skin the bear, he said. It was in very good condition, and I was going to put the meat in my refrigerator.
I've seen episodes of this on Extreme Cheapskates.
Where people collect the roadkill for...
Have either of you had bear meat?
Yeah, it's delicious.
It's delicious, right?
Yeah.
I have a buddy who hunted and
stew.
He killed a bear, and he had bear jerky at every tailgate last year. It's delicious. So I get it. However, and again, I don't know a ton about animals, but I feel like they say when an animal is hit by a car, there's a lot of times internal injuries that kind of make the meat, you can't eat it. Like
it makes it, you can eat it, but it makes it bad.
Right.
It makes it very, very tough because once you kill an animal, you want to drain it. essentially,
And
as fast
also,
as you
this
can.
was the summertime. Am I correct? Am I
Oh, I was probably sitting
Oh
there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
probably not the best? Probably a little spoiled meat. And also, I don't know how delicious cub meat would be. It's
Oh,
not like a lot of
I think
muscle.
it'd be better.
Oh
Oh,
God,
probably, yeah.
no!
It's just kind of like,
This already made me so sad.
Like veal.
like Venice, like veal. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I was thinking of.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I'd love to eat a baby
he
bear.
throws this dead baby bear in his trunk. And Kennedy then tells Barr that he spent the day hawking. He's like, you know what? It's hot as fuck out, but I'm going to leave this dead bear in my trunk while I continue hawking.
You don't stop hawking for a bear.
No, that's true. Before driving to New York City for a dinner with the bear still in his car. Oh my God, you guys, you're not going to believe what I forgot in my trunk. This is so embarrassing. At the end of dinner, Kennedy said he had to go to the airport and couldn't take the bear back to his home. He said he broached to his friends the idea of taking the bear to Central Park and making it appear as if a biker had hit it.
I mean, this is like the scene in Goodfellas when they kill Billy Bats and he's in the car, but they go to and then have the early morning breakfast at Joe Pesci's mom's house.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually just read that book, Wise Guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's again, I don't think I could get Chat GPT or whatever to write a more bizarre.
Well, maybe you could because it's a Kennedy and this has shades of
True.
Chappaquiddick. So
You know what? Never mind. You're right. They've done some pretty crazy shit, huh?
I also want to be friends in that friend group because he said he ran it by everybody.
yeah,
Kennedy says in the video, prompting laughs from Barr and others in the room, everybody thought that's a great idea. So we did that and we thought it'd be amusing for whoever found it or something.
Yes, this dead baby animal who has clearly been horrifically injured is going to be so funny to all these people.
How do you think you're going to walk in Central Park and be like, they're going to see this dead bear on a bike and they're going to be like, well, isn't that a hoot?
Again, this is where I say rich people very out of touch with the
Yeah.
rest.
Well,
Yeah.
Very, very
I'd go
out of
one
touch.
step
I
further.
don't think this is rich people behavior.
No, this
I
is this
do.
is like there are certain families in our country, the Kennedys being one of them, where they operate in a different lane than the rest of us. They operate in their own world. Growing up with that amount of wealth and that amount of influence, and to this day, the name Kennedy still carries a lot of weight.
Yeah.
So I think your brain just operates differently. The same reason, if you peel back Chappaquiddick, why Ted Kennedy did the things he did, they just thought they would get away with it. Same thing here. He probably just thought he would get away with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they do.
Mhm.
Kennedy said the bear's discovery appeared on the front page of every paper, drawing wide media coverage and prompting investigations of law enforcement, which he said worried him because he had left behind fingerprints. Kennedy suggested he was not blamed for the incident at the time. Luckily, the story died down for a while and it stayed dead for a decade. The New Yorker somehow found out about it and they're going to do a big article on me. So they asked me, the fact checkers, he said. Kennedy suggested the upcoming story would portray him in a negative light.
Dude, I mean, Mitt Romney got all kinds of shit because he left his dog.
Jesus Christ.
Like,
yes.
this is a bear. What's up with all these presidential candidates or high-level politicians admitting to shit that there's no reason to?
Who
Like,
was the lady
Christy
who was like,
Nome.
oh,
Yeah.
went and shot her dog out in the front yard.
Multiple
and then,
dogs.
And then said, you know what, I'm going to kill the goat while I'm at it too. And
Yeah.
just turned and
I'm
killed the goat.
sorry. Also, not to mention, if they just put the dead bear on the side of the highway, how often do people come across dead animals and think to themselves, we better fingerprint this thing to get to the bottom of this animal's death?
Fingerprinting the bike is ridiculous. And
No,
also,
but
what?
I don't think so.
But I'm
I
saying
don't
they
think
didn't even
that's
need to
weird.
get the bike involved. They could have just dropped it on the side of the road, and I don't think anyone would have really
Or-
gone beyond that.
Or cons, just leave it. Like, if a
Coulda done
bear
that
got
too.
hit- if a bear got hit by a car and it was dead, I think your primary options are to, 1, leave it,
Mhm.
2, and I think this is the only other option, drag it to the side of the road and then leave it.
Yes.
Those are the only real options you have.
Fun.
If you're really that hell-bent on bear meat, go hunt for a bear.
Go hunt for a bear.
And
That's
this,
right.
this is what I thought was really fucked up and kind of funny too. The woman who discovered the bear told reporters at the time that she found it with its head resting on the bike. Like, he propped it up like the bike was a pillow.
That's why I'm saying they took I don't think it's crazy they took fingerprints because it was so clearly staged. It was like, what sicko staged this to make it look like the bear got hit by a
But
bike? Like,
what's the possible crime?
animal cruelty? Because
No, like, if it's dead hit by a car, it's not cruel.
they
Post-mortem
They
cruelty?
found it in Central Park. They couldn't tell what killed it. They didn't know a car killed it because they didn't find it on the side of the road. They found it in Central Park with a bike on its head that looked like someone staged it. And I would think, oh, someone in New York had this bear, killed it, and put it here.
Yeah.
So that's why. But yeah,
there was an
crazy.
article this morning that was talking about he might get a $250 fine for illegal
For-
dumping. But you would have to, you'd have to think that the statutes of limitations up on dumping a bear in a park.
Yeah.
You gotta
I'm so surprised.
3
though, that
years,
this,
you think?
this is a story that was only from 10 years ago. I would have thought this was like 1986.
Yeah.
Right?
The
This
way
was like a
story
plot
reads.
on Marvelous Mrs. Maisel when she comes
Yeah.
back from like the upstate camp that she would go to.
Yeah, just
But then
banana
again-
lands.
Again, it's a Kennedy, so it's not that crazy. That
One of
it's
the
this
funnier
wacky.
things, the original, I think it was the New York Times covered it back in 2014, because again, like it said, like every media outlet covered this, and the reporter who covered the story back when it was a mystery was his niece. She was
really?
the writer for the New York
That's
Times, something like
too
that, and
funny.
she
Wow.
wrote the story like mystery in Central Park, having no idea it was her uncle who had dumped this dead
What
bear.
if somebody ends up having footage of that? That would be incredible content of seeing him do that.
I gotta know too.
Yeah.
Did he have it in a bag? Was he? But people,
Because somebody
Yeah,
had to
even-
have seen him,
Right.
right?
'Cause even a bear cub is still a large animal. Right?
Yeah. Like it's Rottweiler size.
Yeah.
Like big.
but New York City too. Like you could see a guy with a boa constrictor as a hat,
Yeah.
and you don't know whether it's alive or
Yeah.
dead, and he's
No,
he's
you'd
also
look once
stroking
and
his
go
dick,
about
and you're
your
like,
day.
hello. You don't
Yeah.
care.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
You wouldn't even
So-
look twice. I will say though,
Crazy.
I listened to the RFK interview that the Bussin' guys, Will and Taylor, did. It was interesting because he goes into like, historical events and his uncle, his father. It really was fascinating, and he gave like a pretty, for as honest as a politician can be, I thought a pretty honest assessment at the current political climate in terms of how people get elected. And I don't know, I found it fascinating. So I would go listen to that if you're so inclined. But this story is just absolutely ridiculous.
Dude, how pissed is Bussin' with the Boys that this bear stuff came out?
Yeah.
It would have been awesome if he admitted it on their show instead
Oh,
of waiting
yeah.
a week to admit it
Yeah.
to
Oh my God,
Roseanne
yeah.
Barr.
That would have
Yeah.
been two very fortunate things they got in like a month and a half because they got Travis Kelce his statements on Taylor Swift.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
that one went like crazy viral too.
Mhm.
All right, let's move on to round number 2. This isn't too long. It's not like a big story or anything like that. I just saw it and thought it was pathetic coming from former Air Force guy. There's a dude, Breck LeBeau. Is that how you think you would say his name?
Brec Lebegu.
Yeah, that's how I would pronounce it. Yeah.
Brec Lebegu.
LeBeau? Yeah. So he said it's time to salute and say goodbye to the Air Force or to the Blue Angels at Seafair, which is like their air show that they do. He said, although we need skilled fighter pilots to defend our nation and our allies from our enemies, these air shows cause significant health harm. A recent Seattle Times article stated that, quote, no data exists that can measure the team's impact or influence. That's true for noise, too.
On recruiting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like do these air shows that they do all over the country, does it actually bring in, like a kid sees that and is like, I'm going to join the military someday. We don't have any analytics on that or not.
Right. And then he says that it's air noise that the planes going over can be 100 to 110 decibels for a long period of time. And he just basically says that we need to get rid of air shows because they're too noisy.
Okay, nerd.
Kick rocks.
Right,
rocks, you
dude.
geek.
Like I think the Seattle football stadium, if you go there, it's known as being one of the loudest
Yeah.
in the NFL. Like when they
Mhm.
had the Legion of Boom, it was consistently over 120, 125 decibels. How often is an air show? Like we're talking once a year at 110?
I will
Yeah.
say we got here last year. We moved here before my baby was born, but my toddler, he was almost 3. And it was the week that the air show started here. And they were practicing like over our house. And it terrified him. And for like months afterwards, whenever there was an airplane, he'd be like, is that the air show? Like it like fucked him up a little bit. It was loud as fuck. I'll say that. It's
Wow,
loud as
put
fuck.
Kate in the cancel all air shows.
You know
category.
what? I do. So I'm kind of torn because I do feel like it's a little much maybe here and there, but also ain't that America?
Yes.
Isn't that what is things that are grandiose and big and a little unnecessary, but cool as shit?
And most of this
Isn't
is
that
over
us?
water too.
Yeah.
Like it's over there. If you could cancel one forever, or you had to, air shows or fireworks.
Oh, I love both.
Yeah.
I
Wow.
enjoy both.
I
When
guess,
they do the
listen,
loop.
probably air shows just because I see them less. I see fireworks pretty pretty consistently every 4th of July, whereas air shows, I can't tell you the last time I saw an air show.
Let me just say this. I will never go to an air show.
Why?
Ever. I just don't care about them. I think it's because I grew up a Navy kid and around planes and shit.
Your stepdad worked on
Yeah.
the Blue Angel
So
planes, right?
I just don't care about it. I don't.
I think it's cool. I can see from my roof a little bit what's going on. I just don't want to be nut to butt with people watching it in the heat. But if I had a friend with a sick apartment that was like, come over and watch, absolutely, I would fucking be there.
If I could ride, I would do it.
In the plane?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes,
hell no.
Blue
I have
Angels,
zero-
Thunderbirds, give us a ride for the 80th
Yeah, show me
time
how
that
I'm wrong.
I've asked. Yes, please.
Show me I'm
No,
wrong.
Zero
Tell me,
desire.
tell me I'm just a coward.
I will say this. I think it is cool to see what they're able to do. It's kind of like when you go see, professional sports. To see somebody do something at the very, very top level, I think is very
Yes.
cool. These pilots, what they're able to do, I think is very cool demonstration. And I mean, I'm reading the mission of the Blue Angels. They want to inspire a culture of excellence and service to country. I think that's a cool mission. So
Yeah, it's a good mission. I think it's a fine mission. I just don't care about seeing it. How they could get me back in, Cons. Imagine this. You have like one of those old stupid ships that they need to get rid of. Put that bad boy like 500 meters, 1,000 meters off the coast, and then have an A-10 gunship come and just fuck it up and then hit it with one of the fighter pilots. Like, because they're going to have to train.
Yeah.
Just set that up. You're sitting there on like the Golden Gate Bridge, like they shut that thing down where you could look over and you have a naval ship getting sank to smithereens. Sign me up for that.
That would be a very cool live fire exercise to see a destroyer destroyed. Excuse me, simplicity there, but that would be a very cool live fire exercise.
Spring break, 1992. Fred Durst down in Cancun. And he's like,
Oh,
I'm gonna
yeah.
break some fucking shit tonight. And then he pumps the
chocolate starfish.
he pumps the
You say
fucking dynamite
1992?
thing, and a ship explodes out in the fucking Cancun harbor.
Yeah, that was
and
great.
Everybody goes crazy. Yeah, we need
Cancun, 1999.
we need Fred Durst to learn how to fly one of these planes. An A-10. I'm gonna break some fucking shit
Coming from the
tonight.
town of the unknown,
Yeah.
Jacksonville is on the map. Better watch out. Line us up.
Where's
cheetah.
Fred Durst these days?
Dude, he
Oh, they're
I'm so
they're
glad you
huge
asked.
again.
He got so fine.
Oh yeah,
he's
he's hot.
he's
Really?
a silver fox.
Yeah.
He is so fine.
Isn't
Good
he
sense
very
of humor.
short though?
No, and he's I don't ruin it for me. He skateboards.
Oh wow, he is handsome with the
and he's
silver
very
beard.
silly.
And
Oh,
they're selling out little arenas too.
Yeah.
Like 10, 15,000 people arenas. They're back in a big way.
I'll
he's
tell
doing
you.
the Chaperone thing where him and his squad come out dressed all as cowboys. or as
HOTTOGO.
Yeah,
Fred
there's
Durst.
a large market for the folks our age
on
now
the road.
seeing musical acts from our childhood and
We got
adolescence.
nostalgia. Creed.
Creed's
yes,
back.
please.
Who's back? of the week?
Matchbox 20
Creed?
we saw in Charlotte. I just saw
You just
Oh,
saw
yeah.
Hootie,
Fish.
did you not?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
saw Hootie.
Unbelievable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 311. Blink 182's back.
I just started following Nick Hexum on TikTok. He's
Yeah.
he's only got like 7,000 followers.
One of my neighbors went and saw Barry Manilow.
It's not unusual.
I mean, she's like 65, but she said it was electric. She said it's like the 25th time she's seen Barry.
Oh hell yeah!
Yeah.
He's gonna notice her soon.
She said that there was a lot of women there, that everybody had what they call in the biz panty flitters.
People think that as we get older, we don't get the heat.
Yeah. I've heard more. I heard like 50,
I
60-year-old
don't anymore,
ladies
but
are
some
like
people might.
50 to 60 is when you're at your horniest.
Horny as hell.
Yeah.
Hmm.
All right. That's talking Blue Angels. Let's move on to round number 3, which was kind of I think it's good news when somebody gets released from that's wrongfully detained in a different country like Russia.
Yeah.
I feel like it's basically always good news, but I do understand the people who are like, this was a little bit of an unfair trade.
Yeah. In late June, CIA officials held a secret meeting with Russian intelligence officers in an undisclosed Middle Eastern capital city to present a proposal for a prisoner swap. It was the latest in a series of offers U.S. officials had made to Russia in a years-long effort to secure the release of Americans imprisoned in Russia. But this time, the CIA had something new to offer. Vadim Krasikov, a Russian assassin who's been convicted of executing a man in broad daylight in Berlin and was serving a life sentence in a German prison. The proposal the CIA offered to the Russians that day was the culmination of months of work by U.S. officials to convince the Germans to release Krasikov, who has been seen as having close ties to Russian President Vladimir Putin. The expansive deal,
which is proven by the fact that this was the guy that they wanted, right? I mean, this is the guy that they wanted back.
right? Yes.
You don't go after somebody that you want back unless Putin's involved with it.
And two, like, it probably is especially tough for Germany and for the person who was killed's family and all that stuff. Being like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
The expensive deal presented that day included trading the Russian assassin for 2 high-profile Americans jailed in Russia on baseless charges of espionage. That's also tough too. Like, we're going to give you an actual fucking murderer bad guy back for 2 of our people who you're keeping who did nothing wrong.
Yeah.
Like, you're getting an actual bad guy back and we're getting 2 good people back who did nothing wrong. We're getting former U.S. Marine Paul Whelan and Wall Street Journal reporter Evan Gershkovich. The Russian officials took the proposal back to Moscow in early July. A phone call with CIA Director Bill Burns said basically, yeah, we'll fucking do it. Got to hammer out the details, but we're on it. Then on July 17th, Moscow formally accepted the terms, transmitting their answer back to the CIA, setting the stage for the largest prisoner exchange between the U.S. and Russia since the Cold War, one that involved 24 prisoners and 7 countries.
That's this one, right?
The one during the Cold War.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The one during the Cold War was that many. U.S. Republican nominee Donald Trump commended Vladimir Putin over a historic prisoner swap deal struck last week, suggesting the Russian leader got the better end of the agreement. I'd like to congratulate Vladimir Putin for having made yet another great deal. Did you see the deal we made? Trump told a crowd of supporters at a rally in Atlanta.
Just a weird move. Just a weird move to do that.
Yeah.
Weird.
That's like giving Putin credit for anything.
Yeah. You simply don't, like the old drill tweet.
Yeah.
The guys from 9/11, you simply don't have to hand it to them.
You really don't have to hand it to them.
Yeah.
I know there was still some Americans who are left behind who also did nothing wrong, that those families were incredibly disheartened, because you have to hear like scuttlebutt coming down, we're going to get some people back, and then it's not your family member. It has to be just like absolutely fucking gutting. But good to have these people back. And at least like the bad Russian guy, like probably not allowed in Germany again, so we can meddle around Russia and do bad things there. But it still sucks. That sucks. But also good that we have these people back. So
I am going to admit what I'm about to say might sound stupid. Prisoners,
I love whatever you're about to say.
Yeah. To me, the idea of prisoners being held captive by other countries, that seems like something in the movies and not real life. That doesn't seem like something that actually happens. Obviously it does very much happen. But I don't know, maybe because they get taken prisoner and then it's forgotten about.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem.
It,
it doesn't seem to me like an effective bargaining chip. Ultimately, I think it's just.
I think it's not an effective bargaining chip in countries like Russia, where it doesn't seem like they give a shit about their average citizen.
No,
and I think you could say the same thing here. Like this really picked up speed when it was the Wall Street journalist that was taken, because the journalists tweet about it all the time.
Mm-hmm.
It was the same thing. I forget the fella's name who worked.
Austin Tice. Oh no,
the dude that worked for the I think it was the New York Times or Washington Post, who was tortured by Saudi Arabia. You remember? Like he was killed by Saudi Arabia.
Daniel Pearl?
No.
Are you talking about the Wall Street Journal? No.
I forget what his name is, but there was not Soleimani. That's the Iranian dude. But he was captured by Saudi Arabia, and they like took him from a hotel or some shit like that, tortured him, killed him, dumped his body. And there was widespread reports that that hit was ordered by the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia. And so then all kinds
You're
of
talking about Khashoggi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
dude. Yes. I mean, that was my.
Yeah, I couldn't think of the name.
Yep.
But yeah, that story was huge. And I don't think that they keep going after people if it's not for journalists bringing it to the forefront.
Yeah.
And I don't think they do that for. Right. They don't do that
next.
For anybody that's not. There's so many Americans that are imprisoned around the world, but it's the journalists that typically get out.
And two, it's the family members who are tight with their local politicians who keep bugging them to keep bugging higher up. It's like you endlessly have to keep fighting and fighting and fighting and fighting to keep the attention on the forefront to get these people back.
Well, and that's horrible, though. Think about that. Like, Chaps, you just said, like, for lack of a better word, just civilians, regular civilians who are imprisoned all over the world who don't maybe have those connections that Kate mentioned, that are just going to stay in these prisons in other countries, seemingly sometimes for acts that were not necessarily crimes, but were deemed crimes by whatever country that is, and they have no way to get home to their family. It's horrible.
Right. Absolutely terrible. But we're glad that the Marine and the journalist are back on safe American soil again.
And let me go on record. We're not going to give Putin any credit for it either.
Oh, yeah.
Also, too, at this point, if I'm an American, I am just straight up not going to Russia ever for anything.
That's
like, I am
journalist or anything. You know, like, no way.
Not rolling those dice.
What's the last country?
Not blaming them, but like, holy fuck, it's terrifying.
Let's do Mount Rushmore of countries that you would not go to as a tourist.
Oh, I think it's pretty simple. It's North Korea, it's China, it's Russia, probably somewhere in the Southeast
of our main
Asia.
enemies. But like,
I don't know if I'd put China in the same category. I think I would go Russia, North Korea, probably still Afghanistan.
Yeah, true.
And maybe Iran.
One of these
Saudi
guys,
Arabia would be bad too.
It was the same story as Brittany Griner. One of these guys, I think, was older and had medical marijuana for his arthritis or something like that he didn't realize was in his bag. And there you go. And you miss out on a decade with your family then, because it's fucking crazy.
And it doesn't even matter if like maybe Brittany Griner didn't have any weed. It doesn't matter to them. Like they'll just say you have weed. Like there was a story I think it was in Dubai, where Future and Metro Boomin were over there, and he was like, Metro Boomin had to be in prison there for 56 days.
Yeah.
Because they said that there was a cartridge in one of his bags that had weed. And he was like, no, dude, like this is a brand new bag that I brought here for this purpose.
Yeah.
So I didn't have anything like that. And they just trump up charges.
Yeah.
You know?
It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, not great.
Yeah.
Glad they're back.
Yeah.
I'll say that.
Yep. Oh, by the way, I tweeted out a couple weeks ago that Annalisa and I went to go get our passports.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And she was in a tank top and I had a polo on, and they told her that she couldn't take it in a tank top.
Mm-hmm.
So I took off my shirt in the post office and gave it to her, and she smiled in the picture. You're allowed to smile now.
Good.
Came back. You just can't have a smile where there's a gap in your mouth.
So it has to be like
teeth together smile. Yeah. So
well, that's nice.
There's that heads up.
I smiled in my boot camp picture after I was told not to. I said, fuck that. I'm going to smile. I have a huge smile in my boot camp picture.
I actually like that. So you don't look miserable. That's a good recruiting tool. Look how happy this young recruit is.
If I got killed in the war and that was the photo they were going to use in the news, I wanted people to feel extra bad. And I wanted them to be like, look how happy she was.
Yeah, they would be like, no women are ever going to join the draft. Look how happy she was before. No, she's not.
Yeah.
A little more on the morbid side, speaking of official photos.
Sure.
So, unfortunately, whenever somebody from West Point is usually killed in action, a lot of times they'll show the photo from their full dress, and they're holding the bucket hat and their saber. I was like, I'm not taking that picture, because if I don't take that picture, then they got no picture to show. So I'll be good.
Yeah.
Which never.
Well,
if there's no picture, nothing can happen.
Takes away the personhood of the person when they show that. It's like it's a blank slate, and it's like, no, we got personality, and we're all different. We're goofy, and we're some would say silly.
Yeah, you look like Jason Bourne just sitting there in front of a gray screen.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on to some save rounds and alibis. Cons, we'll start with you.
Shout to Second Lieutenant Alma Cooper, West Point class of 2023, who won Miss USA. So for those keeping track at home, we have an Army officer who was Miss USA and an Air Force officer who was Miss America. So shout out to the troops.
Shout out to the hotties with bodies there.
And
brains.
And
brawn.
Talents.
Yeah.
What did you guys think about that blog I wrote about The Rock falling short on his recruiting promises for the Army and not doing what he was contractually obligated to do?
Yeah, what, they paid him $11 million to
something like that for 5 posts,
cool.
and he did 2 for the Army. Yeah,
and then he only did 2 of them, and it reeled in exactly 0 people to join.
We'll
do they lost 38 recruits because of it.
So, just if the Army recruiting office is listening, we'll do it for a smooth $150,000.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, U.S. military, I'll show my tits. $50K.
Anything else, Cons?
But one other thing, but really quickly, I genuinely believe if you gave the 3 of us like 3 weeks and you sent us to however many high schools, I genuinely believe we could get back those enlistments that The Rock lost.
Oh,
Uh-oh.
I'm a loser. I don't know.
Yeah, we'd just be like, hey,
You're cool.
if you enlist, you can come to a tour of the
You're
Barstool
cool.
Chicago office. You
Yeah.
could be
That
an
might be
intern on
enough.
you could be
That
an
might
intern
be
on Part of
enough.
My Take when your enlistment's over.
We'll give you a $50 gift card to the Barstool store if you sign up.
Exactly
That might
right.
be
Yeah.
enough.
And a case of
thing.
That's-
My dad absolutely flamed me at the Hootie concert. So I
Big
wanted to
Al.
wear a like a flowery print shirt. And Alex, I came down the stairs. She's like, "You're not wearing that. Go back upstairs and change." So I brought it anyway because I was like, maybe I'll change while we're at the tailgate.
Oh,
And she
you
can't,
fool.
she
Think
can't
that's
yell
gonna
at
go
me in
under
front of her
Alex's
friends
radar?
and stuff.
No.
So I never changed. But at one point, her friend put it on, and my dad is looking. He's like, "Oh, where'd you get that?" She's like, "Oh, it's Connor's." And my dad looks at me dead in the eye and he goes, "How does that fit you? There's no way that fits you. There's no way that shirt fits you." I'm like, "It fits me. I promise." He's like, "No, it doesn't. You're lying." So he just
Fat
completely
guy.
flamed me. Yeah.
Fat guy
And
in
a
a
little
little gray coat for the thin gray line.
Yep. That's all I got.
Yep. Catherine?
I was on a Nazi submarine.
What?
Mhm.
That's getting clipped.
Yes, I was. I was. Yeah.
Meet the Nazis.
The Chicago Museum of Science and Industry has a giant Nazi submarine. Like it's like 100 yards long. It's like fucking massive. And
Blow that up.
we should. That's what we should blow up in the thing. They actually had to dig the front yard, dig like a massive, massive, massive fucking hole in front of the museum, and then bring in the submarine and slowly lower it down pallet by pallet by pallet, and then cover it up so it's sealed forever. It will never move. It will always be there for all eternity underground
Interesting.
in front of this museum. But my toddler and I went and we did the tour. And now my son is asking a lot of questions about what is war and what are torpedoes. And I say it's the boats are just playing tag in the ocean.
Be
And
like,
that's about it.
school circle on me, Cash.
Yeah. But it was cool. We captured this submarine. And I guess if your submarine was about to be captured because of the technology and all that shit during World War II, you were supposed to like go down with the fucking ship. And I guess these guys tried
thanks.
and it was like, never mind. So they all hopped on a lifeboat and just left it floating there. And the US was like, fuck yeah, we got this submarine. Interesting fact. Back in the day, I don't think it's the same now, submarines. If they had to sink, say they were like going along in the Pacific or wherever, and they're like, uh-oh, there's the enemy up there. We better get down. All the wee, and every single person on the submarine had to run to the very front of the boat and huddle up in a little ball so their weight would help take the submarine down.
Faster.
Jeez.
Isn't that random? That's just a silly thing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no thank
I don't
you.
want to be a submariner.
And they had to
No.
share beds. They were on a system. They only had like 16 beds, but there was like 58 people. So they had to just all
like
take
Love Island.
turns. How pissed would you be if somebody splooted all over your fucking shit?
Yeah, somebody came on your bunk.
Yep.
And it's going to happen if you're down
Oh, 100%.
there. Oh, yeah. Somebody's doing a nocturnal admission without a doubt.
And the main captain, the Nazi captain dude, the main dude of the boat, he got his own special box. It was like 5 feet of his own, and he was like 6'10". Sucks to suck, man. That's being a Nazi for you.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought that was fucking cool. I've been to see it before, but never went on it. And now answering questions about war to your toddler is, they're not ready yet.
No, they're not.
They're not.
Yeah,
I'd
no,
say
they're
no.
not.
Yeah.
No. So I just said war is like a big game of tag, and we're just throwing torpedoes or like water balloons, and you're just trying to splash the other boat, and everyone's having the best time.
Have you ever seen
Okay.
those TikToks where they go to like BYU and they'll be like, all right, would you rather have a cup of coffee or go to war? And they're like,
Go to war.
Go to war.
Yeah.
It's like,
Okay.
what, dude? Like, just ask for forgiveness. Like that. That's the whole biz. If you're
Right.
God,
Yeah.
just
Just say you're
ask
sorry.
for forgiveness. Yeah, just say you're sorry a couple times.
Other than that, I'm trying to think. I guess I got nothing.
Yeah.
Pretty exciting.
I wanted to thank everybody for the response from last week's episode. It was
Yeah.
nice. I appreciate I saved the compliments like Kate. Sometimes you get a lot of hate in the internet streets. It was very uplifting last week. So I appreciate everybody's response from that episode.
I guess
It
every
was good.
week we just have to do something really brave now.
Yeah, I'll just make up a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Well, just from now on, it's stolen valor, but that one was real.
Yeah, that one was real. Everything else that I've said on the show, completely fabricated.
Complete
For
farce.
sure.
Cons didn't even go to West Point. He's a community college guy.
Yeah. Kate and I are doing the Barstool Olympics today. I guess that doesn't matter. No, it's all week
Oh,
long.
no, we're doing the Barstool Summer Games because we'll get sued if we call it the O word.
Oh, yeah. We're not doing the Olympics.
No, we would never.
Summer Games.
I'm refereeing because my body's still destroyed.
Yeah.
When that email initially went out a while ago, I was so excited because I thought there'd be swimming, and I was all set to come out and just smoke everybody in the pool.
Yeah. Big
I'm
swim
weird.
guy.
Big swim
Big
guy.
swim guy.
Yeah,
We're
I
not
like
doing- I know,
swimming too.
but there's no swimming, unfortunately.
Yeah, that would have been great. All right, we'll be back next week. Hopefully it's a CIA episode because I really want to talk about that, and I have short-term memory loss. So if we don't get that going soon, everything's going to be out of my head without a doubt. We'll see you then. It's on the retreat.